Hello everyone, we have a game with the black pieces against Shy Pitos, rated 1404, who joined 1 month ago. So hopefully we're playing a human. He makes these weird opening moves, so I'm just going to put 2 pawns in the center. Normally I would do e4, e5, but it's controlled. So let's continue our development. This now allows us to put another pawn in the center. So white pins the knight, threatening to take the pawn. So we develop a piece and defend that pawn. He now develops the queen, which puts extra pressure on the knight. So let's develop a piece and defend the knight and remove all pressure. Now he goes c4, spending an extra tempo with the pawn, attacking our center. I'm going to ignore him and counter and attack one of his minor pieces because it's a stronger threat. First I'm going to attack the knight because he doesn't have an adequate pawn presence, and this is how you punish someone who does not have a central pawn presence. So he retreats. That's good for us. So now there's again this pawn. What can we do? We can kick the bishop. We can also potentially push the pawn. We can also just develop the knight, right? We could also develop the queen with threats. Looks kind of strong. So here, 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 here. There's also knight somewhere because his position is just so bad. Actually, now his light square is because of the way he played. I really just want to stick a knight in there. Although this move might be even more annoying. Okay, let's go knight b4, moving the same piece twice. We're already better developed. We already have a better center. And we're targeting extremely specific and extremely vulnerable weaknesses in his position. So he takes, and that's a check, so we have to respond. We develop a piece, and we have the same threats. So instead of trading queens, he goes to this super awkward square. But this check is supported. So I'm going to throw it in. It's a free improving move that removes castling rights. Also, the bishop hangs if you don't go here. If you do go there, the rook hangs. So game over by Shipitos. And that's why you need a central pawn presence. I try to drill that home with you guys because I've learned the hard way. So center and development. We don't have any theory against knight f3, right? We just center development. Center and development. Development and center. Center, development. Development, center. Development and center by unpinning the knight. Blunder. So it wants me to kick the bishop before I kick the knight. Let's see why. If we kick the bishop, it's trapped. So it's forced to take the knight, and then we'll take with the bishop, which is what I was going to take. His queen has to go somewhere. Let's say here. D takes c4. If you want to maintain the strong advantage, you have to take the pawn. Are we gonna? Okay, if he takes here, then we kick the knight. Knight goes back, and then we bring the queen out. Only in this very specific line. And if he plays e4, we have to play f. Okay, so because of some weird computer line, a6 is just... It's one pawn stronger than the next best moves. Huh. Interesting. I don't know exactly understand why. It's just the concrete line. Whereas in this case, they're saying he has this opportunity to throw in. They're saying this move would be -3, but White has this one chance to take your pawn and hit your knight. Okay, so you're hitting his knight. He's hitting your knight. So if you get a knight, he gets a knight with threats. If you get a pawn, I mean, he probably... I don't even know. Oh yeah, he takes with check. So black's still better, but apparently there's just a much stronger continuation when you kick the bishop first. Nuanced stuff. But we just anti-development, improve our position center. And it's -3.3. And again, they still want you to kick the bishop, forcing the trade. But I kind of like my move, because how does he respond to it? Knight b4. They want him to take this pawn, but then he still gets... Oh, I see. It opens up the bishop. That's somewhat clever. So we'll have to kick it again. So I guess at all points we'll have to kick the bishop. So he takes force move, and then he just blunders this. So there's not much to really look at there. I'm going to try to play a quick 10-minute game, if that's possible. Oh, I moved the wrong pawn. Because I'm an e4 player, I just instinctively went e4 and wasn't paying attention. Okay, so, whoops. We don't have a Jabava London, we have an e4 Sicilian. So in this case, we're just going to do, play the e4 Sicilian. We're not going to try to transpose some fancy way. He hits our bishop. Let's just get rid of his knight, which controls the center. You could play d3. Let's do that. Completing the chain, opening the bishop. He's trying to fianchetto, which makes sense. Now there's lots of normal moves like f4 and knight out and bishop out, but he always has this c4 move, which you have to watch out for. And considering the open b file and the rook pressure, b3 is a move that makes sense for both of those reasons. It does weaken the dark squares when he is going to fianchetto, so that doesn't make as much sense, but considering we can do the same, we're back to making sense. So I kind of want to contest his bishop with mine. Could go bishop d2, but I think I'm going to stick with the fianchetto. That gives us this weird knight a4 possibility. And if he takes, normally you don't want your knight in the fianchetto square, but in this structure, if you can get it to c4, that would be nice. And so this is an interesting reroute. Okay, so he moves the pawn, which opens up his other bishop. I say we just play f4. I don't think we're in a rush to trade the bishops right this second, although you probably could. Let's play f4 and get our knight out, get castled. He develops a piece. We consider kicking it, but It doesn't look too juicy as he does have squares. So let's continue with normal stuff. He might put a piece here. And our position looks fine. And now we don't necessarily need to go knight a4 because his bishop is blocked for a turn. So he castles. Normal enough. We just castle. Our rook is already pretty decent. Okay, he puts his bishop here, which pins the knight, but we wanted to move our queen anyway. Queen e1, queen g3 is an interesting maneuver. Queen d2. No. Let's go to queen e1. Get it out of the pin. Our knight is free to go. Our queen is free to harass. And I am going to, now that I'm more or less have everything out and developed, I'll be looking to make this exchange of dark square bishops. But first he advances in the center, threatening to maybe advance further. It does undefend these squares. I'm going to use that undefended square to hop my knight in, improve it in a weird way, try to counter what he's doing. I mean, he could still just push, maybe sacrifice a pawn because my knight's in a weird spot. I don't think I'm going to take that. I think I'll take the bishop though. Okay, he moves the bishop back and defends. So again, I could take the bishop, but that kind of, he'll take backwards with the knight, and I don't think he's too upset about it. I think now might be the right time to get rid of this knight. If he pushes, we have this outpost, and if he takes, and we take, that should be fine for us. So let's go here. It attacks a weakness and looks at this square, opens up our bishop, defends our bishop. And I mean, you can't really complain. You have a really nice knight here. Even though this knight's on the rim, it does a lot against this particular structure. You know, we have a nice rook, a nice queen. What else do you want from an opening? You can't just expect that your opponent's going to blunder pieces like they do in every game you see of mine. Or that they're just going to hang a pawn on move 5 because they won't always do that. And you kind of have to know how to play when your opponent doesn't blunder. How do I improve my position? How do I make threats? And I wanted this to be a fast game, but it's not going to be a fast game. So he does take the pawn, but this disconnects his pawns, leaving these double isolated. Very ugly. I don't even think I need to take. Not that it's bad, because you can move your rook over, but... Can I take this instead? I'm not threatening his bishop there. So he could still take another pawn. Whereas if I take this pawn first, I'll still take this pawn, and I'll get my rook to d1, which is not fun for black. I'm not up anything, but my position is better. I have clear targets, clear weaknesses to target, and here comes the inevitable c4. However, instead of ruining my pawn structure and giving him counterplay, I can take with the knight and put it on an outpost, c4. Also, opening my bishop, double defending. I don't see a downside. Now I'm up a clean pawn, and that's enough to win an endgame. So I should be good to trade everything and get going. Moves I'm looking at are here, here. I mean, if I want to trade stuff, one of these. What about e5? Probably not. Yeah, not e5 unless I have e6 after winning something, which I'm not going to have. So let's just trade everything up a pawn. Let's get this knight. Now that he's not targeting a c5 pawn, let's just move him, get him somewhere, here or here. Okay, so he moves his bishop, trying to mess up my structure, but I don't need to leave this knight here. I can put it exactly back where it was because this is a very strong square for it, defended by the pawn. It also opens up the d file, so I can get in a free move maybe. Okay, let's get in a free developing move before we move the knight. We also could potentially lift your queen and defend so you don't have to move it. But I think the knight on e5 is super strong and his bishop's not good, so why give him the trade? He moved there, which allows for a bishop, but I'm not sure you want your bishop here. Because once he moves his queen, it's not so special. I think the knight here makes more sense. Also, this bishop is in a weird location now. It can't trade. And what happens when I kick it? I guess it could just go back. It's not the biggest of deals. So he moves a rook over, attacking my rook. I think maybe now we can either get our queen in the game, so our rooks are connected. So like, I don't know, queen somewhere. Or we could get our knight in the game. Which I like because it hits this bishop and this pawn. It does undefend this, but I don't really see how he takes advantage of that anytime soon. Where's there a great... Do I have a great square for my queen? If I can get out of the way this turn. Eh. I mean, queen c3 is tricky, but undefends the center. So let's just get our knight back in the game. Maybe he'll get afraid. Maybe he doesn't know. Like, he doesn't actually know if I'm going to take this pawn or not, right? Okay, he takes, and I take. Oh, okay, he just wanted to go here. If I get a bishop, he gets a queen. I get a queen. He gets a rook. I get a rook. I'm up a bishop. I hope I calculated that right. We'll find out. I mean, he could just take the knight and not go down that. Then my knight is kind of unassailable by pawns, which is interesting. So he kind of has to take, and then... Ah. Queen check. Interesting. But I have this. This. I don't think this works for him, though. The only thing at the end of all these lines that hangs is a central pawn, but I don't think it matters. Okay, so he takes the piece back, but his queen's hanging. So, what? Can I take his queen? Then he takes my queen, but I get a rook? That's not how tactics work, Ivory. And I'm not going to go through since this is the second game, a full deep dive into the analysis. I'm just going to make sure or look for any crazy blunders. Okay, so he takes the pawn, but we don't really care. Check is almost mate. He has to go here. And then let's just pile up on that piece. So we're going to give it check just to try to end the game quickly. Okay, let's attack it second time. He can't defend it a second time. He can only do meaningless moves. And then when we take this and he goes here, check, here, check, here. That wouldn't be... Okay, I was going to say it wouldn't be checkmate, so maybe we start with the bishop here first. Okay, so we get it done in a Sicilian by accident. I just want to check the graph real quick to make sure I didn't do anything ridiculous. Okay, 96% accuracy. So we'll just leave it at that. Whatever I said through the game must have been reasonable enough. We don't have to go back since the video is getting a little long. Good luck in your chess. I'll see you in the next one, guys.